Thank you, Vicki. I appreciate our elementary principals tonight who are with us. We're going to begin by having a presentation on the elementary program. So if you guys could come up, I think that we're going to switch some seats around. And as we've done with our high school program, we want to highlight for you how we've approached instruction during the hybrid learning model that we've been following since September. So I'm very pleased to introduce Tanya Wilson, Jim Skoog, and Carol Bartlett, who are with us this evening. And David will pull up the presentation. Adam will also stay up here with us tonight. And this is how we're going to kick off our superintendent's report.
Okay. Thank you, Christine. Good evening. We're here this evening to share with you a day in the life of Pandemic Elementary School. We would like to thank the Board of Education, the central office team, Josh Caldwell Block, staff developers, teachers, staff, parents, and students for making our full-time, mostly in-person instruction and school experience possible for our youngest students. So in August, when we presented to you our reopening plan, we were somewhat confident that we could pull it off. And I say the word somewhat because we were missing one part of the plan, and that were the students. We wondered, will they be able to keep their masks on for extended periods? How are they going to distance when they are in their development at such a young age? And what about touching? They touch everything. And the questions kept coming. Well, needless to say, it has been truly amazing to see the staff and students interact with each other every school day. It has come with its challenges, but it's truly been a rewarding success for all three of our school communities. And I'm just realizing that's it. Okay. So we're going to talk about the following. This was a very similar agenda to the one we had in August. So there's health and safety, our arrival process, instructional spaces, our instructional program and cohort model, service providers, special area classes, lunch and recess, technology, and professional development. So we'll start with health and safety.
So good evening. So the Chappaqua schools have taken the lead on how to successfully open an elementary school. This evening, we're going to speak to you and you're going to take a peek into our schools to see what they look like during the global pandemic. So first, we have been diligent about health and safety when working with our children, our families, faculty, and staff. The day begins for all with a check into Aparu, and this management system has allowed us to quickly assess the health of students, faculty, and staff, and to determine daily entry. Once our students arrive, temperatures are taken, and the children are off to their respective classes. We'd be remiss if we didn't mention our custodial teams who have been instrumental in maintaining stellar, clean environments for each of our buildings. Their teams have kept high-touch areas clean, and they've maintained a level that is notably probably the biggest reason why we've been able to stay open. In addition, our school nurses are on site each day managing the health of students and faculty. They've also become a big part of ensuring parent understanding for COVID-19 and all that it encompasses. So these two groups of people have been the foundation to this massive effort.
Tanya, could I just add?
Yes.
We also talked about another silver lining, and there are many, to Pandemic Elementary School. But one is that kids and teachers aren't as sick. There aren't as many colds and stomach viruses, and this health and safety protocols that we have in place, I think, is really in general helped our overall health.
Absolutely. So now we're looking at the slide about arrival and dismissal. So each day, school personnel from all three elementary schools greet smiling and extremely happy children and parents. We have bus riders, and now with the pandemic, many families driving students to school. We thank the families for their patience, as many campuses process well over 200 cars or more in about 15 to 20 minutes each morning and afternoon. And although the traffic dynamic has temporarily changed due to our current circumstance, it has afforded us all the opportunity to have direct interaction with many of our parents on a daily basis. The connection has been a really great touch point for families each day. And to that end, with arrival and dismissal primarily through car arrival, we have learned to contend with the weather. Fortunately, the Chappaqua School Foundation has taken note and given each elementary school big green golf umbrellas for 80 days, which have been very, very helpful.
Let's see if this video.
Love that you're happy to come to school, Ion. Have a great day. I just couldn't help it.
Yes.
That kid skips into school, and he's not the only one.
Yes,
We're happy to
very
be there.
excited. We're very excited to be there. And finally, our learning spaces then and now. So planning for the return for students was no easy task, of course. So those involved recognize the challenge of proper social distancing, coupled with acknowledging that young children need room to grow and explore. To that point, our students came to school with the excitement and energy that accompanies young learners. So to our biggest surprise, they've come in, they've accepted the spaces and the rules that surround them. So they come in, they socially distance, they wear their mask, they do all the things that we ask them to do each day. Students and teachers have made the best of the situation. So these are our spaces with students in the spaces, and that's what it looks like. The schools represent a place of joy and many unlikely places, such as classrooms in the gyms and in GLCs. And we thank our teachers for being so flexible and willing to make the plan work with space.
So this was a slide from our original presentation back in August, talking about this vision that we had for remote learning and a cohort model. And we described it, and I don't know if we were 100% sure that it would work, but I think we trusted in Josh Kovalbach's foresight and the committee that he put together, the TAPE committee, which was technology-assisted post-pandemic education, and thought about what we would actually need to make this model work, and got out in front of everybody else, and we were really well situated with all the technology that we needed to make this cohort model work, and also fortunate enough to have hired additional staff, building subs, and partnered with our existing staff, including teacher aides, who have really stepped up to become supervisors in some of the cohort classrooms. So it's really working beautifully. And is there anything, do you want to add anything to that, guys? I mean, it's a cooperation of many, many people, and the flexibility of some teacher aides and building subs that were just kind of thrown into these positions, and they're taking on the challenges, supervising kids.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about the technology as it relates to that later.
So in this slide, I wanted to point out what it actually looks like when classroom teachers are delivering instruction to the kids sitting in front of them, physically on site, to the kids at home remotely, and you can see that band of photographs across the top where the red X slide is, where Sandy Schassler is teaching, and the kids that are remote in school also, and how skillfully they've been able to toggle between these three groups of kids for the most part, and really maintain the rigor and robust programs that we have for our students. So these are some pictures from what typical instruction looks like, and I have to say, Tanya and Jim and I talked about it, and not much has been sacrificed, again, with the robust, great curriculum programs that we have. And I think we were concerned a lot about, you can go back for a minute, Jim, the human side of teaching and how that could be lost in some remote situations. But the photograph in the middle, I happened to observe a lesson where the teacher was teaching about how poetry evokes emotion, and that if you select topics that really have some meaning to you, it's probably going to evoke emotion for you and make you feel a certain way. And this little boy teared up in the middle of her conference with him, and it was a really touching moment, and it just reassured me that even in a remote situation, he was at home, she was in school, she was able to say, clear the breakout room, the other kids left, and kind of help this little guy work through the feelings he was having. In the top you see a writing lesson with the heart on the screen. They're circling the heart of a narrative story to expand on it. Student writing is robust, the mathematics continues, and opportunities for makerspace projects, although we don't use the makerspace with groups of kids, we continue some of the projects in the classroom. And here are some other examples. The top left is students using digital manipulatives to support our math and focus curriculum. Science 21, so we still can offer hands-on, engaging, interactive lessons that we know keep kids engaged. And there's a small opportunity for some shared writing experiences in kindergarten as they swarmed the teacher when I was there one day.
On the left there, we also have some outside programming, Authors Day, and other programs that come in virtually to engage our students.
I wanted to just point out too, one other image on this slide, this little boy reading the book up in the top right. So kids continue the book shopping process. And at first teachers were concerned about books being quarantined, but they've got it down to a science, and kids shop for books in most grades at least once a week and trade out the books that they've read into a bin where they sit for 2 or 3 days in quarantine until they can be recycled back into the classroom libraries. So we haven't had to give up anything that has to do with independent reading, which we know is really important to the acquisition of early literacy.
So our elementary schools also have the following service providers who work with our students who require specialized instruction as outlined in their IEP or as driven by building level service. So these services include counseling through our school psychologist, speech and language therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, reading support, and English as a new language services. And again, they're delivered in a hybrid model, so there might be 1 or 2 students in person and 1 or 2 students remote, and they are working together with the service provider in real time. They have flexible schedules, and as you can see, students are distanced, masked, and occasionally plexiglass shields if they can't distance, and our providers also push in to the classroom to provide those services as well to generalize the skills that they're learning. Specials programming. We've had to get very creative with our specials. Music, library, gym, and art. And as you can see here, students are getting a pretty robust specials program. Every student in the building has the same special on a given number day. So library and art are taught via Zoom and other interactive platforms, whereas physical education and music, music's in the middle, PE on the left, can be taught outside, weather permitting, in a large group with supportive adults, cohort support teachers as well, supporting the music teacher and the PE teacher. And for those students who are remote, when the kids are outside, the PE teachers and music teacher provide an asynchronous lesson that they can engage with at home. So that's some of our specialist programs.
That's another group to give a big shout out to, because the special area teachers are also cohort supervisors and have really taken on the role of elementary school classroom teacher, which has really been fantastic for us.
Right. And of course, lunch and recess are a big part of the elementary day. So prior to the change in the health department guidance, which was just a few weeks ago, Christine engaged us in having students come out of the classroom because they were eating in the classroom every day at their desk where they're learning. So this was a welcome change for everybody. And it also supported the safety of everyone as well. So we moved them into our larger spaces, and we're still able to maintain a greater distance than we did in the classroom, so students are unmasked and eating with shields in between. And students who order lunch from school get it delivered right to that space, and it's prepackaged and ready to be eaten. We'd like to thank Deirdre McManus and her team for their flexibility and support while providing nutritious meals for our students each day. And prior to the snow and cold temperatures, you can see there on the left, and weather permitting, students ate lunch outside al fresco style. On rainy days and extremely cold days, students have recess indoors. Otherwise, they are outside, snow pants and all. And finally, technology integration and reliance on it have been pivotal to the success of our hybrid program. And I use the word reliance because if we did not have, we would not be able to provide this rich learning experience for our students if we didn't have the technology. The infrastructure, the hardware, and the platforms are robust, and several different technology and the high level of connectivity and collaboration have resulted from students and teachers engaging in this. So our teachers are using several different technology platforms to deliver instruction, as you can see here, while students use the same platforms to post their work, collaborate with one another, and to access their curriculum materials. The most powerful aspect of having access to all these platforms is that when students and teachers needed to quarantine, the teaching and learning seamlessly continued from home and in school. So they were set up, if they had to go on a moment's notice and teach from home or learn from home, they could do that successfully. And I'm particularly excited to see the impact of technology and its continued use post-pandemic in the classroom.
So we all know that we are incredibly fortunate to have the professional development that we have for ourselves and for our staff. And both in-house, our staff developers, Jen Thompson, Ellen Moskowitz, Lisa Olson, Justin Olive, Mary Devane, they're just ready to answer any question. If they don't know the answer, they find out. I've never worked with a more supportive staff development team. They're always ready. Jamie Edelman and Jen Thompson have been keeping our PD alive with the reading and writing project, and have offered a choice, and teachers sign up for times, and it's become more personalized, and it's really been well received. But also, most recently, we offered more choice for teachers. We're always talking to teachers about how important it is to provide choice for our students. And so our elementary faculty meeting, which got canceled yesterday, unfortunately, but we'll add it to the March meeting. It's a choice board with opportunities to choose something on SEL, or there was math, there's Black History Month teaching, Mary Devane offered, a mindfulness, Karen Smith was on there, some PD work around our classroom libraries, the Windows and Mirrors library. So this PD model we wanted to extend to faculty meetings because we thought it was really important to have teachers choose. We also continue to have Shelley DuBose support our Math and Focus professional development. And Justin and Debbie also have been teaming to offer more PD around Science 21. We've had book clubs, and it's just an incredible model, and I think people are always on their toes and always willing to learn and thinking about forward movement.
Right. And one just note that I'm sure you've seen in the news recently that there's a big push now to get students back full-time. CDC is coming out with new guidance on Friday for that. And districts, even around the county and around the country, are just starting to have conversations now, similar to the planning conversations we've had back in August to get all kids in. So we're really proud to and appreciate the support of the board and the central office team to be able to do this for students. And keeping it fun. Is elementary school?
Yeah, we had to put that slide in because, and we all have a little something to say here because at the end of the day, we're dealing with, some 4-year-olds, but to 10-year-olds, some 10-year-olds, and they need to come to a place that's happy and safe and engaging and enlivened, and we work hard to do that, and just to, it's been so rewarding just to see kids enter the building every day, like nothing's wrong. And we included, which we'll play in a minute, teachers working to build community and keep that culture alive. One of our teachers has every Friday, right before dismissal, it's the dance party. Was just one small example of how we understand that these are still little kids, and we want them to be happy.
Yeah, particularly it's Valentine's, and they're very excited about that. So we are celebrating. They're still exchanging, but they're putting them in a bag. We're stapling it. They're going to quarantine their cards for 3 days, and then they can open them at home. So even though we have this pandemic and we have these challenges, we're trying to preserve a lot of what students, a lot of the fun things that they've been doing.
Absolutely. And today at Roaringbrook, we had, to celebrate World Read Aloud Day, we had a visit from Biscuit. You can see, he's right there. He was in a kindergarten class, so the kids, when he walked in, the children jumped out of their seats. They were so very excited to see Biscuit. So, we're trying to do those things for them, and also for Halloween. We did things a little bit differently. So we had all of our students participate in a pumpkin carving contest, and they decorated the front of Roaringbrook to celebrate the season. So that was also a really nice way for kids to feel there was some sense of normalcy.
Karen McNally, the teachers were walking by and they started dancing too. There's always that too cool for school group that won't dance.
So that concludes our presentation of a day in the life of pandemic elementary